Hardleg and his friends, they're gonna play a lot of games. It's Legsplay.
And welcome back to Legsplay. Hardleg Joe here once again with Mr. Bard Breaker, the breaker of bards. How are you doing this fine day?
I'm awake.
It's been a while. It's been a long while since we've been here. If you're not watching this all in a row, like a year after it came out, there was this whole pandemic thing that happened in 2020.
Still happening.
Yeah, but at least at the start of it, you were like, I don't want to be in contact with anyone. Now you've learned to trust me for a little bit of money.
I have to work my retail job with people like all day.
Yeah.
I was like, okay.
Yeah, might as well. Yeah, but because originally they just like let you off, and then they're like, "Fuck it, we're just gonna reopen again."
Yeah, because America is a bunch of fucking cunts, and who just they got bored with COVID and just decided it was over, even though like the cases are all surging back up.
Yep. Ripperoni, the San Francisco treat. I did not. We were just looking up because I realized I didn't have all the upgrades, and I wanted to like upgrade everything. So I had Mr. Dan look up like
Easy money.
Yeah, how to get money fastest. And you showed me a thing, and I was like, "Oh, I know where that is." And then I went there, and it turns out I don't know where that is. He just shows like the outside of a door. I'm not sure if there was part before that like
There's
showed
not.
where he. Okay.
Do you have the Class A license?
Yeah, I have every license. We have everything. We're like about to beat the game. That's part of the reason. It's like, I've got one more dungeon to go through. We could make one episode. Let's try to make it two. Yeah, does it say, like, in the description where he's at, maybe? Because I think... Let's go ahead. Let's call roll. Mom. Megaman. That's another thing. There was that, let's see. 1 second. Take me to the forest. I think it was near there. If I'm not mistaken. That's probably it.
You can make about this much money earlier in the game by playing the TV station games. You can win 4,000 zenny in about 30 seconds with the ball kicking one. The ball shooting one is even quicker but harder to win every time.
Yeah. I think I'd rather shoot things. Shooting things is more fun.
America!
Yeah, but that's one of the things that, like, I noticed there were still more of these I could buy. Because you've got this energy canteen that, like, refills. It's like, oh, you get 16. And I was like, oh, I wonder what the max is. And then we were watching that video, and he had 87 because he had continued his save from previously and just kept buying them. And I was like, oh, you could do infinite and then just refill your health like 132 times or however many it is. So I know not to buy any more of those, which is good, because if we didn't look that up, I would be stuck in this trap of buying those over and over again and wondering how many it could possibly be. This looks like it, right?
It looks like that door, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
This is where he was going.
Probably. Seems familiar. Okay.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. Yeah, it was in there.
No, it wasn't. Yeah,
that looks
yep.
good. Do you have the vacuum suck?
Yeah, I got the vacuum.
Yeah, this looks like it.
Yeah, apparently this monster in particular gives you like...
Yeah, he said ignore the little guys.
Oh. But what if they come to attack me? I don't trust them. Okay. Yeah, they're like, you can just fight from over here. I thought he meant ignore the guys down there. Look at what happened. I ignored them and now I'm hurt, Daniel.
I'm sorry, Joseph.
I'm glad we're using all fancy names. Comment in the comments with your fancy name.
Kale.
I know Kale's real first name, but it's a secret, so I won't tell.
I know,
Also, I don't think Kale watches this.
I know Code's first name is Cody.
Cody, yeah, isn't it Cody?
Yeah.
I never would have guessed!
And Chris W's name is Chris.
W.
I know that.
And Arjan's name is Arjan. He just uses his actual name, I'm pretty sure. Unless, I don't know.
Drew's name is Drew.
Yeah. My name is actually Joe. A lot of people are like, is Hardleg Joe just like a complete pseudonym? Are you really like George? I'm like, no.
Yep, I chose Joe because it was the most common name possible.
I just wanted to be popular.
So yeah, I guess we're just gonna...
We're just gonna farm stuff for a little bit. We could chat about again, you know. That's the interesting thing about the, like...
The Electoral College.
And how it should be cancelled!
And how it benefits farm states. There, I segued it into what we were talking about, farming.
That was good. It's weird. I remember, like, when we first started, there would always be the, like, don't date the video by talking about things that are currently ongoing.
Mm-hmm.
But now I sort of realize, like, there's a little bit of charm in going back and watching these and sort of, like, they capture this moment in time.
Oh, wasn't it cute in the times before the lizard people took over?
Yeah.
Before the Great Lizard Rebellion of November 2020.
I remember someone coming... There was this post I remember someone seeing, like, time traveler comes in. What year is it? Like 2020? And they're like, ooh.
What power did you get from the mutation?
Yeah.
The what? Never mind.
Like, have the dead risen yet? The what? He's like, oh, I'm out of here. I'll see you later. I'm a few months too early. The what? But yeah, so it's kind of nice, you know, eventually all the COVID stuff will be over. Either that or it'll be just like a part of life, and then, like, I doubt it. Nothing will ever end. It'll just go on forever.
Not in America. Maybe
Vaccine.
in other countries. Like,
they'll make a vaccine eventually. It's just a matter of how many, like, thousands are going to die before then.
Maybe. Like, not every virus has a vaccine. They still don't have an HIV vaccine.
Yeah.
And that's been around for decades.
But that's, like, a completely different, like, that's a completely different virus. Like, this is very close to the flu. It is like a type of flu.
The flu vaccine doesn't work.
Works for me.
They take the best Why? Because you've never gotten the flu?
Not since I started getting the vaccine.
I've never gotten a flu shot, and I don't think I've ever had the flu.
Oh, I used to get it, like, every year until I started getting flu shots.
I used to get strep throat all the time, but that's a bacteria.
Yeah.
And you can't vaccinate it for bacteria.
Don't be drinking bacteria all the time.
The last time I got it was probably from a grinder hookup. Anyway, that's that's neither here nor there.
Bacterial dick.
But
I have the weirdest superpower.
I infect people with strep. They acquire from my jizz.
Behold.
Strep jizz.
Now I just gotta convince supervillains to suck my dick. But anyway, I was just saying,
yeah, vaccine. It's just like the flu shot. It doesn't even work half the time. They'll tell you at best it's like 50% effective, and even then, it doesn't stop you from getting the flu. It just lessens your symptoms if you do get it.
I thought it was like 90% effective. There was like
maybe
a very small
maybe
chance.
if you have a really good year for it, but they usually tell you, you know, yeah, we don't know what strain we're gonna have this year. We just took a guess and put it all in the jar and hope we got the right ones.
They usually get several different versions.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, I just remember I used to get, like, it was almost like clockwork. Like, every year around the same time, I would get the flu, and it's just like a week and a half of diarrhea and vomiting and just feeling miserable. And it's like, yeah, I always survive, but it's still shitty. And then my parents got old, and they were like, we're gonna get the flu vaccine. You should get one, too. I'm like, am I old enough? And they're like, yeah, you can get the flu vaccine whenever you feel like it. I'm like, oh, okay. And just ever since then, like, I don't think I've gotten a cold since I started getting the flu. Which, granted, that probably doesn't have anything. I don't know. It makes me think that, like, I never got a cold. I just got weak flus my whole life.
Could be.
Fuck, I don't know. Shit. I was going to count how many times we did this.
I wasn't paying attention either. We were talking about flu and grinder and.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it'll be a neat snapshot, and it'll also be, I guess, the people who are watching currently can just be interested. Like, what is your experience in these interesting times?
And what superpower did you get from the nuclear outbreak?
Exactly. Like, I don't know. You talked about having to work in, like, unsafe conditions.
Yeah, I mean, it's just you know, our CEO literally sent a letter out to all the stores back in March, and he's like, I will not close these stores unless I am forced to by the government. I'm like, well, that's a great, you know, mark of compassion.
Yeah.
You know, and then he sits there, and, you know, he was trying to like, well, we want to stay open and still do buys and trade-ins because we're a source of income for people in this trying time. I was like, you pay less than 1% on half of the shit you sell.
Yeah, because I guess you should mention that
I'm not going to mention the name of the company I work for.
No, but you could mention that they're like a secondhand store where like they buy and sell used stuff.
Yeah, and it's just
it just feels like he's trying to make an excuse after the fact.
Yeah, and then, you know, we're open back up now because, you know, well, the county said it. He was like, I don't give a shit what the county said. Like, they're fucking wrong.
Yeah.
Every doctor could tell you they're wrong. Like, America just decided they were done with COVID, and it's just, I mean, look at the fucking graphs out of Europe. You know, their charts are down. They have, like, the entire fucking European Union, which I guess admittedly doesn't include Britain anymore.
Yeah.
Has like 3,000 like new cases a day or something, give or take. America has like 30,000 a day.
Yep.
We're just like, yeah.
Florida's just going off the charts.
And, you know, dumbass Trump the other day said, well, I told my administration to stop testing people because it was making us look bad.
Of course you're gonna find more. Like, if you don't test, then you don't know.
Not even that. Like that. Yeah, that was the other thing he said. No, he literally said at his rally that, you know, all the TikTok users trolled him about.
Yeah. I can drink water with one hand, baby.
But he literally said, you know, I asked my people to stop testing people because it's making me look bad. And even if you take that as a joke, like, he's literally said that shit before. Back when all this started, he was like,
of course you're finding it if you test for it.
But he's like, we have like 12 cases right now in America. I don't want to bring those 100 people off the cruise ship because then my numbers go up and I look bad.
Yeah.
Like, leave them at sea. If they set foot on land and now we look bad.
That's the thing that, I haven't read Michael Bolton's book. I'm almost considering it, but I've heard that, like, Michael Bolton is a pretty shitty guy even before Trump.
You mean John Bolton?
John Bolton. Oh yeah, Michael Bolton. Yeah,
Michael Bolton is when a man loves a woman.
Same thing. They both have mustaches, right?
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. There we go.
Yeah, I'll probably get the book because I'm curious.
I might pirate it.
Although people are like, yeah, you know, why? It's great that, you know, you had all this information that would have been relevant to the impeachment trial and you refused to testify. And he was like, at the time he was like, well, we'll testify if you get a court order telling us to. And then the Democrats in Congress were like, it's not worth going through the courts. That'll take months and you'll just keep appealing it. It's like, we're not going to play that game.
Yeah.
We'll just, you know, hold you in contempt or something for refusing the subpoenas.
Just so weird that, like, they went through that and that, like, I remember watching this thing where they were comparing it to the whatchamacallit, the Nixon impeachment.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, the idea that you would not agree to a subpoena or the idea that you would, like, refuse to testify, they're like, oh yeah, I was Nixon's best friend, but when you have to follow the rule of law. And then in this case, it's like, no.
Well, it's just like, it was so stupid. Like, as much shit as they, you know, they give the Clintons, you know, Bill Clinton complied with all the subpoenas. He fucking gave them a blood sample. Like...
And there's a thing, they were mentioning, they're like, oh yeah, they started investigating him on something else. They started investigating Clinton on something else, and then ended up, what was it? He had cheated on his wife, and then he lied about it in a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're like, we need to impeach him for perjury because he didn't want to reveal that he cheated on his wife in this thing.
Yeah, it wasn't that he got, you know, head in the White House. It was that he lied about getting head in the White House.
Yeah.
That they impeached him for.
And that's the thing. It's like, should the president always tell the truth? Should he be a perjurer? Like, absolutely. Did that in any way interfere with national security or, like, the, what's the word I'm trying to think? The legitimacy of, like, the government or anything? Like, no, not really. Doesn't really have anything to do with anything. Like, it was bad, but I feel like that was like a complete waste of time to spend that when you could have been doing actual legislation. As opposed to the Trump thing where it's like, fuck, he could be intimidating people. He could be using.
He
like,
literally is intimidating people. Read his tweets.
Or I forget what was the actual word they were the technical term. This for that in
quid pro quo.
Yeah. He's literally like, yeah, do this thing to help me personally, and I'll use my power as the head of state to give you political favors.
And then they literally, like, went out there, his chief of staff admitted they do that all the time, and they still didn't, like, get him out of office. Like, Republicans are just, like, you know, they've got their heads so far up Trump's ass, you know, their hair is going to be orange.
It is really weird because, like, again, I remember this time when I felt like when I was younger, Republicans used to, like, stand for certain ideals.
Yeah, they did.
Used to be, like, you know, they were the Christian right. They were very, like, moral. Like, that's half the reason why a lot of them hated Bill Clinton. Like, even though they didn't put him on trial for cheating on his wife, a lot of people were like, oh, yeah, well, he's just, like, this misogynist, sexist guy, and we're about, like, the purity. And then they're going to go for Trump, who is, like...
who's been divorced twice, cheated on both of those wives with porn stars, and
then paid them to, like, cover it up.
I have nothing against Republicans. Like, if you could get a decent Republican candidate up there who actually embodies the morals that they claim to stand for.
Like, I liked Mitt Romney back in the day. I liked Obama better, but Mitt Romney at least had, like, some
I don't look at Mitt
ideals.
Romney and think he's, you know, an evil human being. Like, I do a lot of the Republicans, like, you know, Mitch McConnell.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess, like, evil is kind of generic, but it's this idea that, like, I feel as though Mitt Romney has ideals. Like, maybe he's anti-LGBT stuff, but I believe he does it because he legitimately believes in, like, Bible stuff. And maybe that's misguided, maybe I don't agree with that, but at least I understand where he's coming from.
Yeah, and at least it's not the extreme to, like, Mike Pence, who believes Jesus tells him special things.
Yeah. And it's like, you compare that to, like, I believe Mitch McConnell doesn't like LGBT stuff because he gets money too.
Yeah, he gets money too from things, I would imagine.
There's different organizations that are just, like, against that, and they pay him money, or they pay...
Which, I mean, that's a problem with all of Congress. Like, you can say that on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Democrats and Republicans get money from special interest groups, and... Yeah, no,
It's a problem all over, but it's like, I feel like the Republicans, like... everything that they say about it nowadays, it's almost like there's no actual legitimate reason for why they do what they do anymore. They're not even, like, pretending. They're just like, yeah, I need to get as much money as I can, as quickly as I can. I think I'll do one more of these.
And then never spend all of it. But God forbid we pay people, you know, $15 an hour to live.
Yeah. And again, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, I'm not against, like, conservative politics if you have, like, ideals where it's like, oh yeah, we should be careful with how we spend our money. We should be careful about moving too fast socially and making big changes that we don't know how they could affect things. Like, I don't agree with that, but I understand that. It just feels like that's not what the right stands for. It just feels like they've got a bunch of bigots in their pocket, and they'll just say and do whatever they can. There's, like, a bunch of millionaires who are just like, I know what's right because I made $1 million.
Well, yeah, and that's exactly right. Like, and that's
Rupert Murdoch.
You know, Republicans, they don't care who they vote for as long as it's got that R next to their name.
Yeah.
Because they know whoever's got the R isn't going to go out there and take away guns or take away, you know, or grant abortion rights or everything they agree with. They know whoever Republican it is going to stand up for that.
Yeah.
Although Democrats get too blinded by personal loyalty, so, like, you know, there's going to be a bunch of people this election who don't go out and vote for, you know, presumably Biden if we get that far.
Yeah.
Because he's not Bernie Sanders. Because he's not, you know, Elizabeth Warren. And it's like, you got to stand up for who you believe in, sure, but you got to look at the bigger picture sometimes.
This all just sort of brings back the idea that, like, in the end, Republicans and Democrats, we suffer from the fact that we're in a two-party system with inferior voting, where it's like, you know, that's the thing. Like, I don't necessarily, like, agree with everything that the left does. In fact, I don't agree with a lot of it. But I've only got two choices. The one that has some of the stuff I like, and the one that has none of the stuff that I like. So I end up teaming up, and it's the same thing. It's like, there's these Republicans who are just like, I just really, really hate abortion. and Trump is the only one who's against it, so I have no one else to vote for. And it's like, well, I feel like really pity for those people where it's like, what if you had to choose? Well, I mean, that's what we're doing now. It's like we had to choose between Hillary and Trump or Biden and Trump. And Hillary and Biden are both, like, pretty terrible. Like, I would never... Like, if I had, like, 100 options, they would probably be close to the bottom. But when there's only 2, you gotta do with what you gotta do.
I mean, neither one of them would have been my choice.
Yeah.
Biden wasn't my choice, but, you know, he's gonna get my vote in November.
Yep, that you gotta do the strategic voting in a 2-party system where you vote against the person you don't like. I forget, have you ever heard about the alternative vote?
No.
It's called? It's this voting system.
Weren't you gonna go buy shit at the shop?
No, because I realize you could get infinite. And I don't wanna fall down that. I need to call roll. I wanted to buy upgrades from her for the weapon. That was the main thing. Because that's... Let's see. So first of all... Yeah, item development. We were going to... I believe we've... Oh, whoops. Wrong one. If you find something new, bring it back, okay? Let's, Special weapons. Enhance! What was it? Not the vacuum arm. It was the shining laser. Wow, we have 140,000. That works pretty well. What do you want to do?
Except
Enhance.
that's gonna be 50,000 right there. Well, you need more money. We spent 20 goddamn minutes getting money, and it's not enough.
Rip. Wow. How are you supposed to do this game? So what do I need? Another 20? Well, either way, we're having fun talking about stuff, right?
Sure.
You don't mind. We'll just go ahead. We'll do the rest of this. Grinding and talking politics. Cordon Forest? Yeah, that's where we got. That's where we were. But yeah, the alternative vote is this idea that instead of just picking like 1 or 2, like, you know, or just like there's 5 options, and you could just pick one thing. What you do is you rank the ones. You vote like 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and you could stop whenever you want. If you just want to vote for one person, you just put a 1. And so the idea is, imagine you've got like 5, or imagine just you have 3 candidates.
Okay.
In the current system, say like Bernie Sanders and Biden and Trump ran. Like, what happens? Like, well, 30% of people vote for Biden, 30% vote for Bernie, and 40% vote for Trump. Trump has a majority, so he wins, even though 60% of the country didn't vote for him. Because the vote got split. So the alternative vote is like, okay, the people who voted for Bernie, they put Bernie as like number 1. They put Biden as number 2. Because they don't like Trump, so they don't put anything else. And the people who do Biden do the same. And so, say they get it out, maybe it's not 30-30. Let's just say Bernie's not that popular. Bernie gets 20% of the vote. Well, clearly he's not winning. He has less votes than either of the competitors. So what they do is they take all the Bernie voters, and they look at what their second choice was. And all the votes that would have gone to them had Bernie not been in the race, then get distributed that way. And if you do that, not only does it allow you to have, like, you can run, like, 10 different candidates from different parties without necessarily, like, spoiling the other ones, but you can also, like, over time, that system tends to go towards moderates, because the people who embody the most general ideals are the ones who get picked. Like, extremist candidates or extremer candidates still have a chance to get votes, and you could show their support for them. And maybe, like, you know, if people see, like, oh, Bernie got 30% of the vote, maybe there's something to that. Maybe there is a chance he could win. People might vote for him in the future. Or if people don't feel like they're throwing away their vote, then they have a chance. They're like, oh, I'll get that. I'll try it, because I feel like my vote might actually matter. It gets people more invested in the process. It lets you have more parties so that there's someone more likely to fill your things. And it stops extreme parties from being formed, or not from being formed, but it stops them from gaining power, especially like a congressional level. Because, like, you know, on small, like, congressional scales, you would have a lot more diversity. It wouldn't just be, like, 2 parties or whatever. There'd be all these people, and they'd have to come together and form, like, a coalition. Of like, yeah, we all believe on this thing, so we're gonna all vote on, like, this particular topic, because that's what we share, but we're not just like, this team. It's more about the ideas. And it's like, I don't feel like it would be that hard to implement. It's how they do it in a lot of different places. I forget exactly, I think Australia does it that way. And then, what was it? In Britain, there was a big push a couple of years back to, like, change they're like, oh, we want to go to the alternative vote instead of, the one we do now is called winner take all. Or first past the post is, like, the technical term for it. But I think that's an awful name because no one knows what the fuck first past the post. Everyone understands winner take all. First past the post is like, wait, what?
Just...
And it's like, yeah, they had a vote to decide if they should change to alternative vote. And they chose no.
They also chose to leave the European Union.
Yeah.
So they're kind of dumb, too.
Well, there's a lot of... I remember when I was trying to explain this to someone, I was trying to look up videos for it, and I found all these old, like, videos in Britain at the time where you have, like, liberals and conservatives sort of arguing over whether to do this. And it's amazing, like, all the conservative voters where they're just like, people, you've been hearing a lot about alternative vote. It's bad. Don't do it. It'll result in a lot of things. And, like, they don't explain why. They're just like, it'll result in, like, your voice not being heard. And then on the opposite, you have the liberals trying to explain it, but there's either, like, 20-minute videos that I'm like, no one has time for this. I just explained it to you in, like, 2 minutes. Or they try to explain it, and then they, like, do it, I don't know. I don't know if everyone feels this way. I feel like I explain things a lot better than most people, and I'm constantly frustrated by people's inability to just use, like, plain language to explain things in, like, a short way. It's like, I kind of want to make a video where I just explain what the alternative vote is in, like, 2 minutes with, like, a little graph. Be like, look, it's this simple. But, I don't know what channel I would put it up on. I think it would be weird for the Yu-Gi-Oh! Channel to just have, like, a single, like, and here's me explaining voting reform. I don't know, comment in the comments.
I also don't know if you're big enough to justify having, like, 6 different sub-channels.
Hardleg voting reform.
Hardleg politics.
Yep. I've been considering it, but I don't have enough time to, like, actively look into politics. I try to keep, like, up to date. I try to stay informed so I can have conversations with people, but I feel like if you're going to start making videos to convince people of stuff, you need to do legit research.
Not according to people on the right, you know, they just, put their tinfoil hat on and then just say whatever the fuck they fucking want to fuck.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You have people like Alex Jones and stuff who make millions just sort of being like, this is clearly fake. I haven't looked into it. I don't have any evidence. But in my gut, I'm a human and it tells me it's fake. I can't believe stuff like this. Like, man, it took a while for him to get deplatformed. People are still like, oh man, you shouldn't deplatform him. No, he was just like inciting hate against people. He was just like, the Sandy Hook are all crisis actors. It's all just an illusion. Go to their houses, bother them, call them frauds. Tell them their dead children don't exist. It's like, no, you don't get to talk to people anymore. Your talking to people rights have been taken away. Welcome to Megaman Legends. But yeah, that's one of the things I was looking at. We talked about politics a bit in the last episode. And I wasn't sure how well it was going to go, but there are a lot of people in the comments like, no, it's interesting to hear what you guys think about it. A lot of people had never... What was it? You made that argument last time where we were talking about socialism, and you're like, taxes are literally socialism.
They are!
And yeah, they are, but it's like, I felt weird when you were angrily ranting about it, because I was like, well, duh, of course they are. And there were so many people, not so many, but there were a couple of people in the comments like, I'd never heard it phrased that way. I'm like, really? I thought that was like, really, really basic.
You would think that, but no, and it's just, that's what I get pissed when I look at people like, and yeah, it's, there are ignorant people on both sides.
Oh, yeah.
But it, especially with socialism, it's mostly people on the right who just, we're gonna have another Red Scare called Joseph McCarthy's skeleton. We need a list, and it's just like, no, like that socialism and communism are similar, but they're not the same thing. Communism is an extreme radical bastardization of socialism.
Well, it's all the thing about socialism is about having social programs that help people.
Mm-hmm.
Communism is about a lack of private property.
Right, and people conflate the two.
Yeah.
And they get it mixed up.
It's just easy to, like, that's the communist meme. Seize the means of production. That's what communism is. Like, if socialism, we don't want to, like, no, Jeff Bezos doesn't own Amazon. We own Amazon. Like, no, he could still own it, he could still operate it, he could still make a profit. Yeah. We're just gonna take, like, a lot of his profits and use it to make the infrastructure of the country better so that it benefits everyone.
So that, people can go to the doctor without spending $30,000.
Yeah. Because, I mean, that's the thing. Jeff Bezos, that's the thing a lot of people don't seem to understand, especially, like, richer people. I was talking to one of the more wealthy patrons, I won't say who for the sake of their privacy, and he was like, Why are you giving up my money to pay for other people's stuff? I'm like, it's not paying just for other people's stuff, it's paying for your stuff too. Like, you will benefit from these programs the same as everyone else. Like, why should I make the world a better place? Because you live in the world! That's why!
Yeah, it's like that line out of Guardians of the Galaxy when Rocket and Star-Lord are bickering, and Rocket's like, why do you care so much about what happens to the universe? And Star-Lord's like, because I'm one of the idiots who lives in it!
Yeah. Exactly. It's like
I love that line because it's like, why do you care, so much about the world? Because we live in it.
Yeah.
I was like, I care so much about seeing the country get better because I live here, and like we should all be able to live here. Like
you see people who are like, why can't I just like play video games and ignore politics? Like that's why we're in this situation because you played video games instead of like. Even taking a mild interest in politics, and now things are so fucked up that you can't play video games anymore.
And look, I admittedly didn't used to give a shit about politics. I was like, fuck, I don't care. Like, I missed, I think I missed the first election I could have voted in when I was 18 by like a month. Like, however it fell, I couldn't register in time, or I couldn't vote, whatever it was. But then, like, I was like, well, you could better be damn sure I'm taking an interest in this now, when Trump came around, I think I missed the Obama elections, but yeah, like the first one, because it had been 2008. I couldn't have voted in the first one. I could have voted for a second one, but I missed the deadline. But then, when it was like, all right, who's running this? Donald Trump could be the president. Well, fuck, we can't let that happen, and it happened.
Yep.
And it's just like, people don't take an interest in here, and they don't want to hear the other side. So many people are like set in their own, and it's even people on the left too. Like I get into arguments with a coworker of mine. I love her dearly. She's great, but she and I want the same. Like
she's like the stereotypical SJW, where it's like
she may not agree with that title, but she is, and like especially with all this stuff now, like Black Lives Matter and stuff. It's like, I'm all for this shit too, but like we have completely differing views of how we should go about it, and we get into huge arguments with each other, and I was just like, all right, we're just gonna have to agree that we want the same thing, but have completely different ideas for how to do it.
Yeah,
and
because that's the thing is like as much as I don't like that term SJW, like there are people who are just like. The epitome where they're like, you can't say the word canoe, that's a Native American word, and that's cultural appropriation. And I'm just like, you don't understand what cultural appropriation is. You're just like saying things because you want to be like smarter than people, or you want to try to pretend to like help people, but you're not helping anyone. No Native American is getting better because I'm not using a canoe.
You can't use you can't use German to describe the language of German because there's man in it.
Yeah. Can't use gendered language. Yeah.
Like,
so there was someone on a Discord who got banned for saying German, and they're like, they put an X in it. They're like, we don't use any gendered language. And people were just sitting here like, so what do we call Manhattan Person-hattan now? Like,
yeah, like I saw this years and years ago on like on the news around here one night. They were showing a clip from somewhere out in California about how like a school board meeting or something blew up because somebody at the meeting was like, you know, where is all the money going? Like, what is our district spending all this money on? Like, if we look at the expense chart, it's just like a black hole of nothingness. And someone was like, you know, I find that term offensive, you know, using black, you know, in this way. And then he just looked at it and he was like, it's a fucking science term.
Yeah.
Like,
I'm not talking about black, the race, or the skin color. I'm talking about a scientific black hole. That's something that sucks everything in and nothing escapes. It's like, it just reminds me, I remember seeing this thing in talking about, what was it? I have this book in my bathroom that's just full of like obscure facts and stories. And I remember seeing something from like early Victorian ages where there was a town that was upset that people were saying hello because it had hell in it. So they tried to change the greeting to heaven-o and made it illegal to say hello. And it's like, I feel like you're missing the point. Like, yes, we shouldn't be evil, but saying hell because it happens to be part of a word that exists that's unrelated, like, it's not helping anyone. That's not doing anything. That's just like, yeah. But that's the thing, is like, for every legit SJW, there's like 100 people who are just like, yeah, we should be nice to each other. And then people on the right are like, look at these SJWs trying to help each other and be friendly. What are you, women in my video games? I can't be playing as a female character. I don't know what it's like to have ovaries. Like, it's surprisingly not that different from having a dick. You would be surprised. So it's like, yeah, I get that those people exist. I don't know. I feel like that's another problem on both sides, is too many people are, like, willing to talk to each other and sort of admit that their side has flaws, or, like, just talk casually about stuff like this. It's always so confrontational. There's that term tribalism goes around a lot, where it's like you find out someone's a liberal and then you immediately like on guard. Or you find out they're like they like Trump and it's like, I have instant dislike of you. And it's like, I don't know, you can find out why they don't like Trump.
Well, there is a point where it's like, if you like somebody, like, you know, okay, yeah, it's really not excusable to like that person anymore. Like, people are like, yeah, you know, Hitler wasn't that bad. It's like, block. Not even worth engaging that kind of person. I
mean, yeah, Hitler wasn't that bad. You can be like, you know, Hitler had some decent military strategies, or he had I think he had like 2 or 3 social reforms about like, not privatizing like the transportation industry and stuff. Like, you could say like, yeah, he did like 2 good things,
but that doesn't remotely outweigh the Holocaust.
No,
I think a more apt comparison is like, was it it was when Bernie was like praising Fidel Castro
for his educational system,
for the fact that like, yeah, you know, people are more literate now, people are educated in Cuba, and people just like blew up and said, oh, Bernie wants us to be like Cuba, wants us to be communist.
No.
And it's like, no. He's pointing out that, like, if Fidel Castro can teach his kids to read in this country, like, surely we can.
Yeah.
That's what he's saying.
That's and then, I mean, that's the big difference. If someone comes in immediately and they're like, Fidel Castro was the greatest leader, viva la revolution. It's like, I don't know, I'm pretty left-leaning, but I probably block that person too. But if they're like, yeah, his educational policies had some merit, I'd be like, okay, fair enough.
Okay, so let's just take those policies.
Yeah. That's the thing. Like, most of the time, like, you can be like, Hitler had some good transportation policies or whatever, but most of the time, people aren't looking to him for his transportation
people don't
policy.
remember Hitler for his, you know...
sweeping reform of the bus program.
Yeah, for his logistical road analyses.
Yeah.
But, no, it's just... Politics is too often... People look at it as a cut and dry, like, you're either left or you're right,
it's a
right or you're
binary
wrong,
system.
And people don't stop to realize, like, no, like, both sides have things they're right about. Both sides have things they're wrong about.
Yep.
You know, I think that, yeah, we definitely should be more budget conscious and conservative, but at the same time, like, you know what would help the money situation if you taxed billionaires?
Yeah.
And then you wouldn't have to, like, people are like, well, how could we possibly fund these programs? Like, I don't know, make Amazon pay taxes?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying he needs to pay an unfair share, like, but Jeff Bezos literally makes, you know, is literally the world's richest man. I mean, he's in, like, a fluctuating tie with Bill Gates, like, on a daily basis because of their stocks and shit. But, like, he's essentially the world's richest man, and he pays a lower percentage of income tax than I do. I make $10.50 an hour, and I get more of my money taken away from me than the fucking world's richest man. Like, why?
And again,
How?
it's like the world's like that's the thing. They're like, oh, he built that. Like, yeah, but he couldn't have done it with like without American infrastructure.
Mm-hmm.
Like his whole transportation fleet wouldn't be anything without like American roads and American laws, and even like the police that make sure those laws are enforced on the road and stuff like that. Like, or workers who are healthy who can do stuff. It's like he benefits from this system. He should pay into it. He should help it more, help it grow, so more people can be rich like he is.
And it's not like taxing is unfair. Again, like I'm paying a huge chunk of my income back to the taxes, and it's like this is how you say, well, how could we possibly pay for universal health care? And it's like, well, that's real easy. Like I demonstrated that real simple. You know, there's however many people were in the workforce, I forget what the exact number was. It's like 140 million people or something were in the workforce in like 2017. Payroll tax everybody a flat $5 just for simple math purposes. And you assume, okay, 2 paychecks a month. Most people get 2 checks a month. So let's just say everybody pays a $10 tax a month on their into a healthcare thing for the government. After 1 month, you have $1 billion, in that. And that's just with a flat $10 for everybody out of their taxes. You're already paying, $100 and something in your taxes every paycheck. And it's like $1 billion into like a communal healthcare fund that then pays for all this shit. And that's just 1 month. And that's just $5 flat tax. Never mind if you tax the rich people proportionately.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Jeff Bezos, you're in a higher tax bracket. You have to pay, $100,000 into taxes for that. And it's just like, you just spent all our money again. I don't know if we can rant for 6 hours while you collect your little nuggets, Joe.
No, I might have to, I don't know, we'll see. It's 250 cheese and crackers. And this is supposed to be like the fastest way to get money in the game. I'm so curious how fucking powerful this laser must be at level 3. I don't know, maybe we'll do a little grinding off screen, just so you know, and then we'll come back next time on Legsplay.
Maybe less
politics,
ranting and more
less
gaming.
ranting, more gaming. But let us know what you thought about this. Who knows? Maybe we'll start a podcast at some point.
We're gonna see a bunch of thumbs downs in the comments. Just be like, I came here for gaming. All it was just them going back and forth and bitching the whole time.
Hey, you got gaming. All right. Life is a game, my friend. Rock the roll.
Just make sure you save so you don't lose this progress.
Oh, I will.